How you all doing today? We're going to start off with a couple of questions. I need you guys to be involved with me for a minute, otherwise it's going to be a really lonely place up here for me. Have you ever made a mistake? Now, I'm not talking about one of those little ones. Like, I'm not talking about knock over a bottle of water or something tiny. I'm talking about one of those big ones that follows you for a long, long period of time. Have you ever needed a second chance? Hey, thank you for those honest people in here. Because of these lights, give me some hands. Give me some high hands to show me who's needed a second chance, who's made a mistake. Thank you for honesty. You other guys that didn't put your hand up, I'm calling bulldust. Hey, all good stories and even bad ones start at the start. So let me go back to the start and let's take you on a little bit of a trip. I was born in a lower socioeconomic area in Victoria, Australia. At that time, 2 parents in a relatively loving house. But things changed. Things changed pretty quickly. Involvement of alcohol, involvement of domestic violence, sexual abuse, adultery, and misogyny all changed the way my family and house looked for me. It also put 2 massive questions and hazed them in my head. What did it mean to be a father? What did it mean to be a man? Because what I was being shown didn't make sense to what I had seen everywhere I had been, or the television I'd watched, or what my friends' parents were doing. This still sticks with me today. It still sits right in the back of my head and makes me question that every day. As I progressed through my life with a single parent and a younger sibling, I was fairly average. And I mean that in a really nice way. I was fairly average. I was good at some things, but not great at anything. But the one thing I found is that I needed some extra help because I was different. I didn't do things the same way as my friends did. I didn't pick up a cricket bat and turn into a legend. I couldn't pick up a book and read those books from start to finish like that. I needed extra help. I was that kid in grade 3 that was 6 foot and was being taught how to catch. I was the kid that used to stay in at lunchtime and recess and be taught sentence by sentence how to read, how to write, how to do my maths, because I didn't get it. I needed that extra help. I didn't realise how important that journey was for me down the track. We'll get to that a little bit later on. As I continued to progress through primary school, average at best, and I keep saying those words, average at best, I got to high school. Again, high school, low socioeconomic area, single parent, we were struggling. We would have very, very limited food, we'd have very limited things in our house, and it changed my idea again as to what was normal because I didn't see the same thing when I went to my friends' houses that was happening at my place. And this hazed me. It hazed my thinking and it really challenged me in regards to what I did for the remainder of my life. As I continued through, there was one thing that I was good at, and that was talking. I could do that because I didn't need any help with that, but I still couldn't do the stuff that everyone else could do. I still couldn't read right. I couldn't write right. I can't even speak right. And that help that I needed is something that continues to drive today. I remember those teachers that would spend time after recess, that we would spend time after hours, that would ring my mum and say, hey, here's a package of stuff that we can get Lucas to do to try and speed him up on where he's at. So this averageness followed me everywhere. As I progressed through school, I found sports and I found sports coaching. In junior sports coaching, there is a lot of average kids, just like me. And I found that I could help some of those average kids using some of the lessons that I had picked up from these people over the journey. And I did use those. And I started my love for sports coaching. And in the back of my head, I think it told me, I need to become a teacher. I need to become an educator. I need to use my experiences to help others. High school finished. I was school captain because I could speak. At the end of that, I was lucky enough to get into a course that I didn't want to get into because, being the average kid, what sort of mark do you reckon I got? Average. So I couldn't get into that. So I had to get into something I didn't want to get into. So once I got into that, I had to work as hard as I could to attempt to get into the teaching course that I had desired to do from the middle of high school. Guess what though? I needed some extra help. And at TAFE, which is the place, an alternative education setting here in Australia, I was able to get that extra help. And I got good enough score to progress from that TAFE course to be entered into an education teaching degree. Perfect. I've succeeded. This is what I've needed. I can use my sport, I can coach, I can teach, I can do my thing, and I can help others and use all of my skills and my passion to help those like me that were average. Once that took place, I started teaching. I met my beautiful wife. We had some children. We did all of the beautiful things that the perfect world's supposed to be. I then got the opportunity to go and work in local government in Victoria. Sport and rec managing. My God, how good does this get? Working with sporting teams and sporting clubs and individuals. When I got to that position, these things in the back of my head about what it was to be a man and what I had to be as a person haunted me like you could not believe. This is where that mistake came in. You know where I talked about that mistake at the start, and all you honest people put your hands up and all you not so honest people kept your hands down? This is where I made a series of really bad mistakes. Working in local council, I took some secret commissions for some of the work I had done. It resulted in a very, very long, protracted investigation period, a lot of pain and a lot of trauma for my wife, my children, and my family. My life and the life of my family was never going to be the same. We took a period of time to come together and attempt to work through what this was going to look like. And we didn't know, because we hadn't experienced this before. Man, I hadn't even had a speeding ticket. Yes, I have. My wife just yelled at me. Yeah, I have. But at the end of the day, my life and our life was going to be different forever. So, media got involved. Investigations got involved. And I lost my own ability to tell my story. I lost my voice. I lost my own narrative because everything that was being told about me was not by me. It was not by my family. It was by media outlets. It was by judges. It was by prosecutors. It was by defenders. It was by people that thought they knew the facts of the case. And that still sits hard with me today in regards to the loss of my own narrative. What I was able to work through at that point in time was hard. After going to prison, we go from, and I want you to paint this picture in your head, I go from 2 children at the time, literally, a white picket fence, a dog, $150,000 a year job, to a steel door closing, to share a room as big as your bathroom, urine smelling, walls covered in feces, with 9 other men. Picture that. You think you lose your narrative when someone else tells your story. You imagine it when you're in that setting, in that room, in that space. Think of those questions that I said to you that were banging around at the start of my head. Wow, what does this mean to be a man? Is the person sitting next to me here on the floor, is that a man? Is this a man? That guy that's in the metal mirror, is that the man? I don't know. Who knows? As I continued to progress along, jail was a daily fight. It was a daily battle to mentally stay safe, to mentally stay sane, to physically stay alive, to physically be in a position to achieve one goal and one goal alone, to get home to the people I loved, to get home to the people I had let down, to get home to the people that needed me the most. That was every day. Once I knew that challenge, I had to think. I had to start building my relationship again with my family. I had to reintegrate my life with my wife. My 2 young children had not seen me for a period of time. Think about these challenges physically and how that works, with those questions still banging in the back of your head. Got home, started those conversations, and that reintegration with partners and family still continues to this day. I lost a lot of friends. My daughter lost a lot of friends. My wife lost a lot of friends over people that did not want to be involved with you because of what you'd done and where you'd come from. Once I got home, I had to make a strong light bulb moment occur. I had to decide what I was going to turn into next. Was I going to just be a 150 kilo slob that sat on the couch and had Centrelink, which is social welfare payments, cover me for the rest of my life, or was I going to get up and restart and reinvent myself? And I decided the latter. But after 60, and I repeat 60, 60, knocked back job applications, here is a person with a doctorate, at that time, 3 master's degrees and 2 bachelor's degrees, and I couldn't get a job driving a forklift. How's that work? What do you got to do? I had to keep fighting, because if I didn't keep fighting, I'd have 2 kids that would follow me down the track. I'd have a wife that would hate me. I would have a daughter that couldn't look at her dad. That wasn't going to happen. I'd look back and thought about all the journeys that I'd come through and all the individual difference that I had felt and experienced. And I put my hand up to help teach, and was lucky to get given a second chance by a person who said to me, I don't care what you've done. If you can teach and help, then that's going to be fantastic. I took that junky, garbage, low-paying position and worked with young, long-term unemployed young people who couldn't get a job, and loved it, because you know what? It was like I was looking in the mirror. I was authentic in what we did, and I used all of those special skills that I'd learned from being the average kid to help those guys be better. We then progressed after this job, and I got a call to go and apply for a teaching position in what is called a care school. And care schools are schools that deal with young people that have been booted out of mainstream school for drug and alcohol issues, for mental health challenges, for gender issues, and for criminal justice involvement. This was it. This was good. I went and worked at this school, who also knew of my incarceration and knew of my skills. And I worked extraordinarily hard for a period of time to work with some of the kids and some of the people that needed that extra help. One day, driving home from that job, I got a call from a HR manager from a different care school. Hey, Lucas, got a position here I want to talk to you about, mate. So, oh yeah, here we go. I'm already doing one of these. We want you to come and be part of the principal team at a school that looks after the same people you're dealing with now. Did you just say principal team? Yeah, leader. Be up the front. Be the person that helps this thing and drives this thing. Me, Mr. Average, the guy that needed all that help back at the start to learn to read, learn to write, learn to catch. Serious? Yep. Back of my head, guess what questions were at me? Oh, Jesus. Is this true? Okay, I took it. I now work in a fantastic place with some of my colleagues that are here today that work with young people, work with young, previously incarcerated people, young people that have issues and challenges that are not being met by mainstream education. When I see those kids, guess who I see in the face? Me. I see the kid that needed the extra help. I see the kid that needs the extra assistance. I see the kid that needs me to sit down as a 15 and 16-year-old and teach them how to write their name. This is what I do now. For the first time in a long time, I was able to own my own narrative. I was able to tell my story of power. I share that same story with my staff when I sat down to start off working in the place I worked. I share the same story with every one of the young people that we work with. So there's nothing hidden. Because for once, me owning my narrative and telling people the mistakes I made takes the decision off what I am as a person and puts it onto you. You have to decide, how are you going to respond to the person here who made a mistake? You told me at the start that a lot of you guys had made mistakes too, and you put your hand up and said that you needed a second chance. I needed one. The kids I work with need 2, 10, 15, 18. My call to action today for every person in this room is to ask yourself, the loved one sitting next to you, the person behind you, are you willing to give someone a second, third, or fourth chance? Are you the change maker in this room that is going to give someone that desperately needs it a second chance? Because the chance isn't just for them. It's for their wife, their husband, their children, their grandchildren, everyone else that does it. And you know what? You might not just help them out. You might actually save a life. Thank you very much.